Hello, everyone. It is Friday night. It is time to preview tomorrow's football game. We are playing Northampton Town. I'm joined by Max this evening. And just before I go over to him so that he can tell me about all things Posh that he's missed out on since the last time he recorded, I just wanted to drop a quick thank you to Prime Vehicle Sales for their partnership for this weekend. They are, of course, your local used car and van dealer down in Sawtry, just down the A1. They are, of course, also my mum and her partner. Look, people are calling out before saying that family and business doesn't work. I stand by that point. But hey ho, Max, talk to me about when was the last time you were on? Can't actually remember. Can you?
No, not on countdown to kickoff. It's probably been a while, but probably since the last time I went, obviously we got knocked out by winning the Virtue, which was a torrid performance, and then obviously Reading, which seemed to be a little bit more of a snatch and grab. My ratings were a bit all over the place. I got a lot of stick for that, but we managed to walk over all 3 points. And look, I think the biggest thing for me is that if we can build momentum from the Reading, going away to Reading, Luke Williams, it made a team that worked. It was a bit makeshift. We've got a lot of injuries, a lot of depth out that we could really use and utilise. We're really thin on the ground, despite having a 30-man squad, which seems ridiculous to me. But if we can build momentum from this, go into Saturday and hopefully another 3 points on the way, then we can claw ourselves out of this rot that we're in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's not talk Posh too much because we can do that later on, can't we, when we bring in our Posh guest and when he's left us as well. So I'm going to kick us off. I'm going to bring in Danny, who is our Cobblers fan for this evening. Danny, how are you?
Good evening. How are you all doing?
I'm all good, thank you. I'll be a lot better come 5 o'clock tomorrow when Posh have hopefully beaten Northampton. Shall we throw back to the game last season where you beat us 4-0? You can tell us all about that. I'm happy to discuss that.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Were you there at the game?
Yes.
Probably the first question to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the all-time great away days for us. There's been questions, I think, all week again, as there always is, about whether it's a derby. To us, it's the derby. There was no better game than that. For that, that's like we were all over the place after that game, falling over. God knows how we got home. Purely for the fact that it was you and it was away from home and it was pretty unexpected, I think, to win by that much. The teams were quite close in the league at that point, but for us to go there and have a day like that was just insane. One of the greatest away days of all time for us. I think just a mad day, and can't remember too much of it, but thankfully we've got the highlights forever of all 4 goals, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, not for the better of us, because you've become a little bit of a bogey side for us more recently. I think we had that 5-1 victory, didn't we, at our place when we had that super team that I still can't believe didn't go up. But since then, I don't actually think we've beaten you other than that, apart from the Virtue night. But I mean, that must be a delight for you. But talk me through your season. We'll start off with that, because I know it's been a bit up and down and inconsistent, hasn't it?
Yeah, it hasn't. It was a rough start. There was a few injuries at the start, as there always is. A few new signings bedding in. A lot of young players come in this summer. Signed a lot of, as we'll tend to do, as we have to do, really, signed a lot of free transfers and loanees that took a while to bed in. Like the first game against Wigan, we were a bit all over the place at the back. A few young players making their debuts that weren't connected with one another. We lost some big characters last year in Mitch Pinnock, who you guys all know very, very well from that goal that bulleted over the line at Sixfields a couple of seasons ago. And he provided a fair few good moments for us. Aaron McGowan, a lot of the leadership team leaving. So it has taken some time to bed in, but once we got going, it's been a little bit up and down, but we're doing enough to stay in mid-table. We've started to find a formation now that works for us. It was a massive slog for the first couple of months, not gonna lie, because we weren't scoring goals, we weren't looking like creating any chances. We were going through games thinking if the other team scores, then we're done. What maybe happened by accident against Mansfield was Mansfield took the lead, or 1-0 up. We looked all like it was going to be another 1-0 defeat. Kevin Nolan changed the formation at half-time, probably the biggest moment of our season so far, because we came back with big Tom Eaves, another person who you'll know quite well up front, back from injury for the second half, played a 4-4-2 as such, switched it a little bit to 5-3-2 at times as well. But pushing that extra person up front to support Ethan Wheatley was a huge moment in our season. We're getting the best out of Wheatley, we're getting the best out of Eves, we're getting the best out of the midfield, and we're thinking, why don't we do this sooner? Because it's given us so much more chance. We're creating a lot more, and the last sort of 3 or 4 or 5 games have been a lot better. The only real defeat in all that run since then has been to Cardiff, who were flying high at the top. So no complaints from that so far, and obviously sitting in a reasonable position as well.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I was just about to ask about your depth up front. It almost feels like an Achilles heel at some point, doesn't it? It feels an Achilles heel to your team. And I think Wheatley's a fantastic player, fantastic loanee. I don't know if you're worried about him getting recalled in January. Hopefully, he can, for you, stay until the end of the season. But do you think the lack of depth up front could hurt you on Saturday? Do you think if you can't get the rhythm sorted straight away, it could be another flaw?
No, I don't think so. Match by match at the minute, as long as we've got the 2 up front as we have been going, Eves and Wheatley. We've got Elliot List in reserve, who's not quite at the same level, I don't think, but he is putting the work in. He works really hard and he gets in the positions and is starting to come through as a backup. But I do think it'll be an issue with something we've probably got to address in January. I think for December as well, it could be quite tricky because there's so many games. It's every couple of days now, isn't it? There's something to prepare for, so that will be a difficulty in December, I think. But for this game on Saturday specifically, I don't think it'll be as big an issue unless one of them's injured, which will start to make us, have to dip into the reserves a little bit, and it won't quite work as well. What I think Wheatley and Eves do really well together is Eves is that big presence, and he allows Wheatley to go through and do what he does, and it's allowed him to become more of the player that we really want to see from Wheatley. Whereas up front on his own, he was just ambling around and trying to do too much, I think, and that partnership's brilliant. We're really enjoying watching it. So hopefully not too many issues for this game, as long as they both fit.
Danny, I've just looked through the squad quickly, and whilst there aren't any standout names to me as a Posh fan, one man that I have seen is Sam Hoskins. Looks like he came back from injury. Is that right?
Came back
Tuesday
from injury on Tuesday. Played left wing back, weirdly. Because we're short there at that point in the game. He has been playing wing back actually all season, but on the other side, right wing back, mainly for his energy. I think his energy experience on that right hand side, he'll get up and down the pitch as much as he can. But ideally, he'd probably want to be playing a bit further forward, but it means he can use his attacking skills, but he's also got the stamina to get back as well. So whether he starts on Saturday, I'm not sure, because he's only just come back. Whether he comes off the bench potentially. I can imagine him really, really wanting to play this game, because obviously he's got that 10-year history now with us, and he knows what this means, and he'll really want to be involved. So potentially starts, but maybe on the bench. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, do you know, I just keep going through and I'm basically looking at the names that look like I remember them scoring against Posh. Obviously, McGeehan looks like he's injured as well, right?
Potentially coming back, McGeehan. Okay. He might be back as well. Yeah.
No, not nice if you're a Posh fan. And
bring
then
them all
the
back
other
in.
one, really.
Scott McLeish might be in there as well at some point.
It's Guinness Walker. Obviously, he plays at the back for you guys, doesn't he? He's the only other name. Is there anyone that's outside of like basically the people that have played against Posh last season that you think that Posh fans need to look out for?
I mean, I don't think there are that many more that played against you last season, and I don't think there's too many of yours either, is there, that played in that game? Tyrese Forner, probably the one over the summer who came in from Salford. He will be everywhere. He puts in every ounce of himself into games. He'll hold on to the ball for as long as he physically can, which can be a little bit frustrating, but I think we take it because we've never really had a player like that in the last few years that can do that. Just that can get on the ball and protect it and get us up the pitch. Well, a lot of the time under John Brady, it was not sticking in midfield, and he just gets the ball and he'll run up and down channels. He'll go here, there, and everywhere. I think half the time he doesn't know what he's doing. So how defenses are supposed to know, I'm not sure. But he's just an enjoyable player to watch. He plays with all his heart, and we absolutely love him. Probably the pick of the summer signings, I'd say. In there.
Yeah, that's a position. Well, that's part of the park. Is a position that I'm really interested in watching. Is the battle in the midfield. I think it will be Collins, Garbett, and Woods for us in the midfield, which I think is a fantastic midfield three. And I presume you've got more depth in the midfield. I think Terry Taylor, you've got Campbell, haven't you? Yeah. Forner. So you've got quite a few names in the midfield. Do you think that's where the game's going to be won and lost tomorrow in the middle of the park?
Yeah, could well be. Could well be. I think obviously whoever keeps their nerve in front of goal as well. But that middle patch is going to be a right battle. I think Campbell enjoys a battle. Terry Taylor enjoys a battle. He's got quality on the ball as well, but he does enjoy getting stuck in as well. Forno, as I mentioned, will dip in as well. It will be a proper scrap in there, I think. And we've got some good characters in there, which again gives me a little bit of hope. Obviously Taylor was here last season. He knows what it's all about. Campbell he's like a typical grafter in midfield. He'll know what it's all about, and he'll want to get involved in a battle as well. So yeah, it could well be that middle of the pitch.
Danny, we've got a couple of comments from YouTube that I wanted to pull up. Somebody's asked whether Kettering is your derby. I assume obviously it's one of them ones, isn't it? Like, this is where I think that Posh fans sort of struggle with Cambridge, because Cambridge was so irrelevant for so long that it didn't ever really matter, which is why they sort of formed this like Northampton derby, right? So I assume, is it a similar thing with Kettering as well?
No, I don't think Kettering's ever been our derby at all. Like, location-wise, it's closer, I think, but never. Like, it's always been Peterborough to us. Like, our parents will always tell us about battles with Peterborough fans on the outside the old stadium and things like that. It's always been Peterborough for us. It's never been anyone else. Kettering's been more of a maybe friendly derby, friendly thing. We don't play them enough for it to be a derby, really. They came to us in the FA Cup and beat us last season. But before that game, there was never really a sense of, oh, this is going to get aggressive kind of thing, and there's this passionate support behind it. It just isn't that kind of rivalry, I don't think. And Peterborough's always been the one. I think what you find with Peterborough fans a lot, which is probably helpful for you in terms of your ages, but it's younger people who tend to think it's Cambridge for you, and the older generation seem to think of us as the derby. It seems to be this kind of thing where whoever you're playing the most in those years, you see as the derby potentially. So maybe if we are here for another 10 years, sort of battling with you again and having all this kind of stuff, then maybe it becomes that again. I don't know, but for us, yeah, it's absolutely you. It's the only one.
Lovely. And then next one is from Ed, who wants to know your thoughts on Ivan Toney. Obviously, Peterborough United moneymaker, London Bar headbutter. Your thoughts on him, obviously, leaving Northampton, and well, he ended up, I can't remember his exact career path, but he's a Northampton lad, isn't he, that ended up at Posh, right? Yeah,
Newcastle for a bit, I think. But I think anyone who comes from here to there just immediately goes on the blacklist, don't they? And just it's like, no, let's get out. It's a difficult one because he's obviously played for England and things as well now, and you kind of get the club saying, oh, no, this is where he came from, but he's never really acknowledged that he was a part of the youth team here and things like that. It's always like, he's always kind of mentioned Newcastle a little bit, and he's never really mentioned his youth club, youth progression here and things. So it's a bit of an odd one. But I don't have any massive feelings towards him, really. He had a good time here, a short time here, and saved us from relegation from League Two, essentially, single-handedly. So we've got to have some sort of happy feelings about it. But yeah, no real kind of feelings at the moment, really, with him.
So thinking about the current Posh squad, Danny, are you well-versed in the Posh team? I'll give you a second to pull it up, and you can tell me if you think there's any danger players that you're worried about. I've said, of course, I don't think I'd take anyone from the Northampton team, if I'm being totally honest, and put them in the Posh team. That my thoughts may have changed after come 5 o'clock tomorrow. But is there anyone that you look at and think, yeah, that's a bit of me? Obviously, I know that you've said, obviously, your finances sort of meant that free transfers are the way to go, and Posh aren't really a free transfer team, I don't think. So that may be different. But let's say that you had money in the bank. Is there anyone that you would look to sign from Posh at all?
I can't honestly say I've seen loads of your games. I don't know if I've watched any of your games this season. Probably that's not us. The mention of Frith and Lisby, I think wasn't it, that Charlie was talking to me about on our podcast, the wingers, the maybe like the traditional Posh players, I guess you could say, we look at and we start worry about if they start running at us. So maybe somebody like that, maybe a Lisby that's going to tear defenses apart, and you can give him the ball and he'll get up the wing and make things happen. But that's potentially the one, I think. The other one that's ruined his reputation is Peter Kosa, by the way, because we thoroughly enjoyed his loan spell here. During COVID, we were sat there watching him every week, and he was tearing it down the right hand side, and we absolutely loved him and wanted him back. And then he's gone to MK and he's gone to you, so that's just ruined him as well. But we can't say him. But there we go.
Yeah, I was just about to say before we mentioned there about Peter Chiesa, he's been Posh, Cobblers, MK, and back to Posh again, hasn't he? So it's been a bit all over the place for PK. Looking at your squad in a bit more detail, I know we've gone over a few of them: Eves, Wheatley, Guinness Walker if he's fit, McGeehan, Hoskins. There's a lot that caused us grief last season. We were talking about the systems earlier. Has Kevin Nolan finally found that system then that you think can really cause teams problems and keep you up? Because I presume that there probably is still a little bit of a worry of looking down the table, considering how close the league is this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weird league, isn't it, this season? You kind of lose 2 and you're right down there. You win 2 and you're right up by the playoffs again. I think Rotherham could have gone from about 16th up to 8th the other day, couldn't they, if they'd have won? But yeah, it's a bizarre league still at the moment with that. But I do think we've hit on the formation now. We were playing 5-2-3 with kind of 2 inside forwards almost behind Wheatley before, and it just wasn't working. We were not creative, like I said. Now we've adjusted it to a 5-3-2. It's way more enjoyable to watch, way more productive going forwards. We're getting the best out of every player there. We're starting to slowly see the loanies, the young players coming through that are really adapting to it. Like you've got Jack Perkins, who is another one who potentially will be back on Saturday. We think he's a great young player that we signed. I think he's one of ours now. We signed over the summer. Cracking player at left wing back. And yeah, we're seeing now, I think, not only the formation, but people buying into it and really sort of showing that they know what they're doing. They know where they're supposed to be. Whereas early in the season, it was a little bit all over the place still. So yeah, we're definitely getting there in that respect.
Danny, we discussed before we came live, didn't we? And I would love for you to educate the uneducated Posh fans amongst us, like I was before we discussed it. That fucking stupid shoe thing.
The brilliant shoe thing, yeah, the absolutely incredible shoe thing. Fields of Green. So this was Fields of Green is basically a Cobblers song. It's a chant that you'll hear in the crowd every week. It was picked up by the cricket club and the rugby club, so the county cricket club and the Saints. The Saints after their games, they started banging their boots around and started chanting it. Picked it up from us. We actually weren't doing it until this season, I don't think. We started doing it after games. Well, I think one of the first ones was Leyton Orient away when we completely pissed off a lot of their supporters by they'd lost their heads about the poor paint in the changing rooms and things like that. It wound them up. I assume. I mean, speaking to Charlie the other day, I can see how much it winds you up. So I'm sure the players definitely won't do it because of that on Saturday.
I'm just not looking. Do you know what? Like that's the only reason. Like I'm not bothered by a derby. I said that earlier, didn't I? But I just don't. We lost 4-0 last year. That was embarrassing. That would be the main concern.
Forgot what the score
was. That would be the main concern, is being embarrassed again, like back to back. At least whenever we've played Cambridge, I think when we played Cambridge, it was only, or even if we go back to you guys, obviously you beat us in the summer, didn't you? I think it was the August, and then we went 1-0 down, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh well, we've scored 5 goals, so that was good fun, wasn't it? Like to go back to back losses would be pretty disastrous for the fan base, especially like you said, heading into Christmas as well. Like there's some pressure on both teams tomorrow, I think, because I guess you guys are probably at home on the 20th of December, so you can take a great atmosphere into that next game potentially, and as well as the Christmas period. So it's simmering nicely, I would say. I know that obviously you guys have sold out your 1,600 or so allocation. Posh have not sold out yet, but there's still a chance, of course. If everybody hasn't bought their tickets yet, please do get on the tickets at the Posh website and buy them. Fill out the GH. You know how it goes. Danny, before I turn into a full salesman, would you like to give us a score prediction for tomorrow? And if you think that Northampton are going to score, who do you think the first goal scorer will be?
Right, I'm going to stick to what I said on our pod. I'm going to go 1-0 Cobblers. I think it's going to be a lot tighter than it was last season. I don't think we're going anywhere near what we did. If we get even half to what we did last season, we'll have a great day. But I think it's going to be a lot tighter. I think you're probably in a better position now than you were a month ago, where it looked like we were desperate for Fergie to stay. We're like, come on, every week, like, come on, keep him in. And when it wasn't Grant McCann either that came in, which was lovely. But I'm going to go 1-0 Cobblers. Yeah, Tom Eves, 80th minute header.
Yeah, that will definitely
It's not
break
just
my heart.
it's not just the dressing room, by the way, either. If you want to get really annoyed, Kevin Nolan takes his shoe off on the way off the pitch as well now after every win. So I'm sure that'll be well received as well.
Rage bait. I'll be long gone by then before that shoe's off. Yeah, I won't be hanging around if Posh lose tomorrow. Danny, thank you very much for joining us on this Friday evening. I've told you before, every guest signs off and then up the Poshcast. Do you want to? Do you think that we can get one out of you?
You definitely cannot.
If Posh win tomorrow, can we get one from you when we have the return fixture?
No.
Well,
if you gave me £10,000 right now, I would not say up the anything to do with Peterborough.
Cool. Sounds like a DMAC threat, that does. Not sure if you watched that, Danny, but DMAC likes to throw his money around like that. But Danny, thanks very much for joining us. You've been a great guest tonight.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Max, how are you feeling after that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see Cobblers have threatening players. They just do. And that's going to be something that might cause us problems. Whether it's a derby or not, this is still a huge game for Posh because, as we've mentioned, the December period's coming and it's gonna happen quickly. And that's the biggest problem for me anyway when looking at the December fixtures, is how close they are together, how thin we are on the ground. One injury could genuinely be cataclysmic. So we've got to manage ourselves and hopefully not punch anybody in the face this year, and try to manage the game better and go and get a win, because that would be fantastic to beat Cobblers, then going to Port Vale and then going to Reading again, and hopefully pick up 12 points from the 4 would be awesome.
Yeah, big fan. I've just remembered that Teo had done red card, and now you've made me angry again, Max, because I've managed to block that out. Right, let's get our Posh guest in, Alfie. Alfie is the Posh drummer. Alfie is also confused with his flag situation. He's got an Ireland flag and an England flag in the background, and I'm sure that's got is that a Union Jack there? You're a confused man, Alfie. One of those flags just over your left shoulder.
That's one of the ones you can buy off of Amazon.
Right.
Like, those template ones that everyone puts at the front. That are all the same.
Yes, of course. Yes. Alfie, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
I'm Alfie, as it's been said already.
And you are?
I'm the drummer at Posh.
Thank you. There we go. You've done a great job, I must admit, at drumming and bringing that drum to the front of the London Road end and being at the front of the GH is a fantastic job. Alfie, do you want to talk us through your thoughts on this season so far? Mate, let's not go the whole season. Let's not go back that far. Let's talk about since Luke Williams came in.
Well, obviously we had that first game, and I'm not really going to talk about Cardiff because I think they were just throwing it away a bit. I think their main focus was, even though they knew they were going to walk the league easily, making sure they do it. But I'll move straight on to talking about Wimbledon. We all thought that was like a new manager bounce, I think. 5-0 is ridiculous, but I think we thought it was a new manager bounce. And it got our hopes up by continuing on. But I think it's when we went to Doncaster, that's what really brought me back down to earth. And that it's still very much a fight for survival.
Yeah, Doncaster was a struggle, wasn't it? And I think the most frustrating thing about Doncaster for me was they were just there. They were there for the taking, and 2 poor defensive errors saw us concede. But yeah, I think with Cardiff put out almost a full strength side. Like I think for the FA Cup, it's bigger, isn't it? And the fact that we went and we beat top of the league in the FA Cup, and I was adamant that we get knocked out, was awesome. And then to go and do what we did to Wimbledon, who again just have a consistency problem. I think we just played them on a bad day, and we ran riot. But yes, as you say, very, very much still in this fight. Let's talk a little bit then about Saturday. I'll ask the question to you first. Do you think it's a derby? Because I think that's the biggest question. And then what do you think is going to happen during the game, and how do you think it's going to go?
I think there's a bit of a difference between a rivalry and a derby. I think a derby is more what we have with Cambridge. And I know it's said about like younger fans thinking it's with Cambridge, but obviously being younger myself, that's what I've known in recent years. And that's the derby I've grown to love. And that, to me, fans do hate each other. I don't see why people go to some extremes. I won't get into that, but I do see at the same time why they hate each other. But Northampton as well, I see it as more of a rivalry than a derby. I think they're two different things, but still similar.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. There's lots of rivalries. I'm sure I discussed it with Lods in the car on the way back, didn't we? Is that Lincoln could be seen as a rivalry. Like when you're constantly coming up against the team, that of course adds more fuel to the fire, doesn't it? And like Danny said, maybe there's a chance that Posh and Northampton stoke that fire a little bit more over the next 5 to 10 years if we both end up going for promotion pushes like that. I think that's been the real issue with the Northampton game itself, is that yes, we've lost, yes, we've won, but we've never been around them in the table. Like, they've never been a threat to us. Like, last season was the first time. Like, I think they had like street parties and stuff. The fact that they finished 1 point ahead of us, didn't they, Max? Like, but you know, that's the big thing for me. So, Alfie, tell me about. Let's think about the Tuesday night team against Reading. Are you making any changes as we head into tomorrow?
Take Odo off the bench.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Fair comment. Who are you bringing onto the bench, though?
I always forget his name.
Go on.
He's from the academy.
Changunde.
Yeah, he's been playing really well, I think.
You do well to get him. He's on loan at Harbour at the moment, I believe, correctly. So, yeah, you clearly don't pay attention to these things, because I can reel off where all of these academy players are playing. So you need to lock in, Alfie, because I can really. Do you want me to do it again? I'll do it again if you like.
I've been at work a bit too much to pay too much attention.
So ignoring. Let's ignore Odo. We all know our thoughts on him. You're keeping the same 11, the same starting 11?
I think so. I think there's a few players in there that they'll know what the game means, Archie Collins being one of them. And I think there's others that, even though having not experienced it, will have maybe been briefed by the players or see what it means to the fans and see the sort of hype that's been being built around the game and sort of try and step up more.
Yeah. I'm with you. And obviously, let's talk about you guys, the blue section, and what you've got planned for tomorrow. I'll give you a little chance to talk about that, Alfie.
I won't say too much, because I myself don't know the full plans. I've seen designs and different sort of ideas. Obviously, I know what the banner says, but all I can really say is if you've got something in your seat, I do encourage you to take part in the display, because it'll be brilliant. The whole idea is it works out. We've raised money for it. The club's put a bit towards it. It'll be really good to see it come into action. That could be what helps the players kickstart the game.
Yeah, look, I will back that sentiment, and I will say on air that if you are in the GH or the family stand tomorrow, to get out and get supporting the lads early. Get in the ground for 2:45. Get yourself into your seat nice and early, so that we can really stoke up the atmosphere. Like, if we want to make it a derby or make it more than just a rivalry, let's build up the atmosphere from early on. Like, if you're in the GH, come and sing and join in the chants. We know that the Cobblers fans will be in the ground probably 30, 45 minutes before, and they'll be singing whilst their team's warming up. Let's do the same thing with Posh fans. Let's fill the ground nice and early. You've seen what it's like when we play Cambridge. Let's do the same for Northampton. Let's get everyone into their seats. Let's get everyone just starting to enjoy themselves and just bring up the atmosphere, so it's a nice crescendo for the 3 minutes before the game, and then the game kick off, and let's chant. If you're interested in chanting, let's chant for 90 minutes. Alfie, you have got a hard task tomorrow, haven't you? Because you are going to be drumming for 90 minutes solid, I would hope, possibly more, with a 15-minute break in between. Is that a fair comment to make?
Yeah, potentially. I do think there'll be that coming out as well from the tunnel. That's twice. That would be after half time, after full time, when hopefully we've won.
Fingers crossed. Alfie, I've got a question for you from the comments. Ed wants to know what your favourite Posh chant is. And the rule is You've got to sing it.
I think recently it's got to be everywhere we go, everywhere we go, we're the Borough Boys making all the noise. Everywhere we go. I think that's got to be my favourite one because everyone joins in and it's so loud.
Yeah, I'm going to put in another request for some old school songs, but maybe we'll discuss that before kickoff tomorrow, Alfie. I'll teach you a few old school ones that the older generations, if I'm going to consider myself as that at 31 years old, will remember and will know that they enjoy. Max, have you got anything you want to ask Alfie, or should we ask him what his score prediction is going to be?
No, I just want to say, like, talk to me a little bit more about the blue section, because I know it's something that you guys have put a lot into and you want to do. What do you really, other than, you know, chanting and singing and getting involved, what more could Posh fans do to bring the atmosphere and to make sure that the London Road becomes, you know, a place teams don't want to come to?
It's just even if you're not in the end, I've seen some videos recently of fans in the family stand, fans in the main stand, singing at the games as well. I saw one video in particular. It was when we were doing the Concordola League One chant. All of the people most of the people on that side of the family stand towards the London Road end, and quite a few people in the main stand as well, were joining in with this big, massive clap that I didn't even realise was happening in the London Road end. Yeah, precisely like that.
That'll be me tomorrow, come 2:55 p.m.
It's great to see people joining in. I think it's important to have an atmosphere at more than one stand.
I agree. Do you know what? That's a good point. That I think credit where it's due. I was not at the Cardiff FA Cup game, but there were lots of comments about how involved the whole stadium was in that Cardiff game. And actually, it then followed through to the Barnsley FA Cup game as well, I thought, where you could sort of feel all three sides, because obviously the GH was closed, wasn't it? But you could feel all three sides wanting to cheer the team on. And I think that tomorrow needs to be like that, doesn't it? It needs to be, the players need to know that we're there, whether we love them, whether we hate them, whether we like them, we're there to support them. And for 90 minutes tomorrow, I think that it's important that they only get support. Let's try not to do the moans and the groans when they make a bad pass or they do all that sort of stuff. Let's just help push them over the line, I would say. Alfie, with that, score prediction from you, please. And if you think Posh are going to score, who do you think the first goal scorer is going to be?
I'm going to go ahead and say 3-0 Posh. I'll give like a little bit of an idea as well. I think we're going to have Garbett running through, and Lisby will make a run around, and he'll see him. Lisby will get the ball and just slot it right past the keeper.
So, Alfie, I want to ask you a question. That means you think it's going to be 0-0 for basically the whole of the first half, then, right? Because you've not got Garbett starting, unless Garbett's starting now, in which case you've fluffed your 11.
I don't think he's a good to start.
No, so you think he's going to come on, and then so you think it's going to be 0-0?
I do think it'll be a while before any action actually happens.
Yeah, that's not good for my heart. Shall we make a shout out to, if you think it's going to be 0-0 at half time, bloody hell, let's make a shout out to the players. Let's make sure that who's captain? Kioso. Let's make sure that Kioso flips the ends, because I don't want all three goals to be down the far end in the London Road end. I want them to be at the GH. I want to see some serious limbs, people throwing it over the barriers and the chairs. That's not true. I'm not promoting that sort of antisocial behaviour. So Lisby first goal scorer 3-0. Yeah, I can see it. I like it. Thank you very much, Alfie. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You are PUFC Alfie on Twitter, right? Am I right in saying
Yes.
that? Cool. Blue section are just Borough Blue section. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. So everybody can go and follow you there, and they can follow the blue section there if they want to see what's happening there. But with that, Alfie, thank you very much. You're going to give us an UpThePoshcast?
UpThePoshcast.
Thank you very much, Alfie. Max, should we get down to business?
Yes, just wanted to say, I think when we show our predictions that Alfie and I potentially could be on the exact same wavelength.
Well, I'm going to change our banner. Reminder, please to submit your predictions for the Next Level Barbell Club Predictions League on our website, www.uptheposhcast.com/NLBC-predictions-league. And without further ado, I'm going to pull up everybody's predictions. Oh my goodness. I'm going to run through everyone's. Max, you can save yours until the end and you can talk us through yours. So Danny, our Northampton fan, thought that they were going to win 1-0. I have gone for the reverse of that and think that Posh will win 1-0. Harry Leonard, first goal scorer. Charlie and Harry have both gone 3-0, but Charlie has got Harry Leonard as his first goal scorer. Harry has gone Jimmy J. Morgan as his first goal scorer. John is 2-0 with Harry Leonard as his first goal scorer, and Lods is 4-0 with Harry Leonard as his first goal scorer. Now, you will all notice if you are watching on YouTube at the moment, or you're watching on YouTube on the Saturday morning, or you're watching it after the game, we clearly don't think that Northampton are going to score any goals. Max, do you want to talk us through your prediction as well and let everyone know what that is?
I first of all, I couldn't believe had we ever predicted the opponents to not score a goal throughout the season. I think this is the first time that a team is coming to London Road anyway. We predicted nils across the board, but I've gone 2-0 on Cara Lisby. I think Cara Lisby is going to score within 10 minutes. I think it's going to be really quick out the gates football, and then I think Cobblers are going to be on top towards the end of the first half. It's going to be a bit of a slog. The second half, they're going to fly out the Raptures. We're going to be struggling again, and then I think Harry Leonard will put it away, and we'll see the game out at 2-0. But I think again, I really am enjoying watching Cara Lisby play football. I think he is coming on leaps and bounds, and so much quicker than I anticipated that he would as well. He's assisting now, he's scoring now, and I think he's going to. This is such a Cairo Lisby occasion. I feel, he loves it. He loves to score. He loves playing football. He loves playing for Peterborough. That's been made clear. I think to score a goal against Northampton, our rivals, if you like, I think is such a Cairo Lisby situation. I think it's almost written in the stars. Hopefully he'll get a goal, but time will tell. We'll see on Saturday. But yeah, I'm feeling nervous but confident in a win, I think.
Yes. Do you know what? You and Chaz have really got your eggs in Cairo Lisby's basket, don't you? Which, it does swing quite nicely. Lots has just dropped it in the comments. I'm not going to put it up because it was something that we were probably going to talk about anyway. We discussed, obviously, man of the moment, ex-Posh superstar, Malik Mothersill. He, of course, has been all over Posh Twitter again, hasn't he? Because he responded to somebody DMing them. Look, fair game, if you ask me. Like, I said today that if I had Malik Mothersill, I would take Malik Mothersill over all four wingers that we've got at the club at the moment. I stand by that comment. I think that he's better than. I think he's better than Otto and Hayes. I think he's better than Frith at the moment. I think that he's also better than Lisby. But yes, I can understand the argument that in 18 months' time that Lisby and Frith will be better. And then, you know what, that brings us on to the next thing. Like, what are everyone's thoughts on people having a bit of back and forth? Because I've been involved in it, haven't I, as well? Chris Clark. For me, personally, I love it because I love that they're expressing their personalities. I love that they back their talent, their skill. I think if you go for a player on socials, and this is one thing that I've always said, is that I will never tag a player in a personal tweet from my account. I don't think that's fair. Like, if I'm going to say their name, I'll just mention it. I'll reference them. If they want to search their own name, that's cool. Max, what are your thoughts on players searching their own names?
Look, I don't mind it. Ashley is probably King Peterborough troll, and he absolutely loves it. But for me, it's. I have no problem with it. And if a player has a problem, I think we talk about Otto all the time, don't we? If Otto came out and had a bit of a clap back, I wouldn't mind it. I think players being expressive and players being able to say what they want to say and not being constantly swamped by media training and hiding behind answers. Let players say what they want to say. They're exactly the same human being. And look, to what Malik said, to the fan, clearly went in there for a nibble, and I think Malik was well within his right to do that. He got the nibble, but again, Malik's points were completely fine. And going back to taking Malik over any winger, Malik 100% starts. In the summer, I was saying that we should really build the team around Malik Mothersill. Malik Mothersill, I thought, was going to be our best player going into this year, easily. I thought Kwame Poku probably was the best player last season. He was out for so long, which is why I think Malik Mothersill got our player of the season. But from that, it was Malik. And he went to Stockport for a record fee, which I think they smashed within a month. But he went to Stockport for a record fee, and it was really worrying because that was our well, at the time, I think our player now is Harry Leonard, but that was our next player that we were going to sell for more than just $1 million. I thought Malik Mothersill was going to be, Posh's big thing. He was the main man, and when you let Malik Mothersill be the main man, the ability cannot be questioned. I think he's a fantastic player, and people might disagree with me on that, but I thought he was a fantastic player, and I've got no bother with him snapping back about his ability, because I think he's a fantastic League One footballer, and I think if he plays the way that he played for us and he can get that form back for Stockport, I don't see why he couldn't do it in the Championship as well. So perhaps not a Ballon d'Or, but I think still, I think players should be able to say what they want to say without any restriction.
Yeah, I am with you there. I would have no qualms if Abraham Otto was to DM me saying you're a dick, Ashley. I would fully agree with him and say, yes, you're right, Abraham. Next point of order is probably Tom O'Connor. He's got that calf issue. What is it? Well, it's preventing him playing from football. And Luke Williams has said that it's worse than first expected. It's not disastrous. It's not going to be a long-term thing. So we're told. However, it does again raise the questions of the treatment and the physios that the players are receiving. We have, and I think Lod's put it into the group earlier, didn't he? We currently have 3 centre-backs out injured, 2 left-backs out injured, 5 defenders before you even get started. And realistically, the updates on them haven't. I actually don't know. We know that Hughes is Achilles, O'Connor is his calf. What's George Nevitt's injury? Any danger of some communication on that? We know that Adebisi is crocked, and we know that Mendy did his groin, if I'm led to be believed correctly. But I would once again like to raise concerns about how we are treating our players in training, because if Nevitt obviously got injured in the game, didn't he? He went off quite early on. These are appearing to be training injuries that are causing the problem. Max, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, firstly, going back to the injuries, again, we're just saying how difficult of a month December is going to be, and Tom O'Connor being out for longer than expected is not the news I wanted to hear. As pointed out, I do mention Sam Hughes quite a lot. I was very excited for Sam Hughes actually to come back from injury, and I think I mentioned it at least about 7 or 8 times. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to play for us this season. The ACL looks bad, and now Tom O'Connor, and that was really. Picture it. You had Mills, probably need a new left back in January just to give him some competition, or to help him along the way, because we've got no cover there. One Mills injury, and it's CJ playing out of position. So you'd have Mills, and then O'Connor, Hughes, and Kyozo, and to me that is a perfectly good League One defence. I think Mills is a fantastic talent. Kyozo, we don't have to talk about Kyozo's accolades at this level. And then the centre back pairing. I think O'Connor was having a few off games. And this probably explains why. I would assume he's been playing through injury. And now, of course, he's been injured. It's worse than expected. We don't know when he's going to be out. And now we're going to have to rely on David Kagwe, who, again, I don't mind. I thought, again, although my terrible rating on the centre-back pairing, I think that Kagwe and Lees were fine against Reading. The problem with the Kagways is, can he deal with the pressure on the press, and can he play the ball out effectively? Because that was one of the big problems. I remember Charlie having this big rant about David Kagwe and passing it out, throwing it out, didn't he? About, can you throw it to a player, please, Dave? But look, we'll see, won't we? But yeah, the injuries are horrible. We just got to get through the December months unscathed.
I think he's a quality player, Dave. I really like him. I really rate him. I think that he's been really good in the 3 games now, is it, that he's come into, and actually showing that what we've always said, and like, we are not the founders of this idea, but removing a young player, giving them 5 to 6 games like we had with Dave at the start of the season, removing them out of the team so that they can adjust, they can learn, they can adapt, they can understand what they need to do to improve, is a real benefit to these players. And I think that we've seen that with David Kagwe, is that he realistically is now a strong defender. I think that he heads the ball fantastically well. I don't want to repeat myself, but I'm sure that I said this when I was in the car. I've got absolute brain fog at the moment. I can't remember anything. I can tell it's December and it's busy at work. He wins all of his headers. He recovers, and he doesn't do what Manny did, where he would leave it right till the last second. The challenge is made before the 18-yard box a lot of the time with Dave. And actually, the comments about his passing and being out of the press, I think that's actually unfair. I thought that the Reading press was really good on Tuesday night. And I think he did a good job. I think that the questionable moments were probably more around the goalkeeper on Tuesday night and his movement of the ball. But I think you're right. Look, I'll bring up this comment from Kingston on tour. Luka Mendonca had a great game at Old Trafford. Is it too soon to chuck him into a League One game? Look, is this a Fergie quote? Is this a Sir Alex Ferguson quote? Or am I just going to butcher a quote? If you're good enough, you're old enough, aren't you? And Old Trafford was probably the foundation of that quote. Maybe it wasn't Sir Alex Ferguson that said that. But if this lad is good enough, he's old enough. And then don't forget as well that we've also got Fabian Claxton out on loan at Corby currently. I'm sure that we could recall him if push came to shove. I suggest that maybe we may see Mendonca on the bench tomorrow as a centre-back option. We obviously haven't had a centre-back option since Nevitt got injured, I think. So I've got no issues. He clearly looks like a decent footballer, doesn't he? But against fellow 18-year-olds, I don't want to be harsh, but he's clearly significantly better than... And they did a great job, didn't they, to have only lost 1-0 to a team that is 2 ranks higher than them. That's a really good job. I think it was a wonder goal by All Sounds. I would have no issues chucking him in. Max, you got any comments on Mendonca at all? Or any of the under-18s, actually, because there's a chance that we may see Bolo over the next sort of... And Eddie Fox. Did somebody make a comment? I'm going to go on again, Max. Somebody made a comment, didn't they, this week? It was Dara after the game, basically saying that 4 of the under-18s would probably be within the first team squad and the environment pretty much for the rest of the season. So if he's happy with them, then hopefully Luke Williams is as well. And they're only going to strengthen. I would assume that Eddie Fox is one of those. I'm not entirely sure who the third one would be. It could be one of any. But yeah, look, Max, talk to me about the under-18s as well.
I think in an ideal world, wouldn't it? We'd be in a better situation right now, and we wouldn't be in the relegation zone, and we could give these younger players a little bit more time. I think the problem is really we've got to make sure we maintain our League One status, and we spent a good chunk on Dave, and to replace him for Luka, I think would probably be a little bit harsh on Dave after the performance at Reading. What I will say about Mendonca is it is very clear to me that he can play football and he will be able to play football at this level. And I think if we can nurture it, we can build it up, we can put him in, and who knows the ceiling of this kid. I think Bolo as well is another one that has a fantastic ceiling. Dara raves on about how he's the quickest player he's ever seen, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing. We are so good at developing youth, aren't we? We've done it throughout, forever. It feels like we've developed youth, and these feel like the next ones off the line to come in and to bolster us and to improve us even more, and hopefully sell for large profits. And that's the key thing for me is I wouldn't want to throw Luka Mendonca into a game like this tomorrow, where we know that the Northampton players, especially Tom Eaves, are probably going to kick the shins of our centre-backs and kick the shins of our midfielders. And Luka Mendonca likes to step up, doesn't he, and play the ball out the back. And I love that about him. But what I will say is that when you've got a Cobblers, when you've got 6'3", Tommy's bearing down on you. It's very different to an under 18s Manchester United player. So I think I'd start Dave. I think it'd be unfair to drop him, but that's no discredit to Luka Mendonca. I think we're going to see him sooner rather than later start making appearances for us, especially over this December period. You know, we're playing Port Vale next week. Again, I said this about Doncaster, but Port Vale are actually now the worst team in the league, I believe, on form. So who knows? You know, we could see Mendonca step in and do a job to give Tom Lee some rest, who absolutely deserves it. So we could see him next week. This isn't the game that I'd throw Mendonca into, though.
Yeah, I think you're right, Max. I think I hope that it's going to be a successful Posh weekend. A win double would be fantastic. The women, of course, have got a massive FA Cup game on Sunday at Burnley away. 3.5 hours. It's not even in Burnley. It's in like Preston or something like that. Crazy. But I will be there no matter what, supporting and cheering them on. But let's start with a positive game tomorrow. A positive 3 points that will, hopefully, if results go Posh's way, take them out of the relegation zone. I think that Doncaster are probably the most likely team. Well, it'd be Doncaster Exeter that if Posh are to move up, that we would need results from either of those two teams to be worse than Posh is if Posh are going to move out the relegation zone. But I think with them, Max, you got anything else that you want to add on?
No, not particularly, other than, again, we've said it before, I will echo it. Please make sure you get into the ground and you start making some noise tomorrow. I think it's key for the players. We do not want them to be warming up to hear 1,600 Cobblers fans being noisy and screaming at them. And that's not what we want to hear. We want to go in and we want to bat them. So all sides of the stadium, please, if you're coming to the game tomorrow, if you haven't bought a ticket, make arrangements, free up your schedule, come down, support them, and let's see if we can get 3 points. Because 3 points here, 2 wins back to back, an away win, and then a tough home win against these guys who you know, it will be like a cup final to them. It's going to be a huge game. They're up for it. They will be. They always are. So let's go and let's put the demons to bed, make some noise, and let's hope for 3 points tomorrow.
Yeah, spot on, Max. Let's just enjoy ourselves tomorrow. That's what it comes down to, and fingers crossed the results will follow. With all that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's joined us in the chat tonight. It's been another active one. Thank you to Luke Jones, who said keep up the good work, chaps. He bought a pin badge for his brother. What a quality present that is. Look, I'm going to say it. If you want to buy your significant other, a family member, a pin badge, I'm pretty sure we've left a free delivery on. That will run through. I think if you order by this time next week, you should get it in time for Christmas. But I'm not going to make any promises because it turns a little bit chaotic in the logistics world from pretty much the 19th of December onwards. Thank you to Prime Vehicle Sales for their partnership for this weekend. You will see them on our Man of the Match graphics. You will see them on our full racing graphics, and you will see them back there for final whistle come Monday morning at 7 o'clock when we are there. And thank you, of course, to the Next Level Barbell Club for their sponsorship of our Predictions League. I think that's everything. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and up the Poshcast.
Up the Poshcast.